Elizabeth Warren put out her proposal to combat student loan debt. And it is a very comprehensive plan that would cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt for individuals earning an income of $100,000 or less. And it would also make tuition free at public colleges and universities. Now, of course, as expected, there are some people on the right, and I would assume a few people on the left as well, who have an issue with canceling student loan debt. And it's because of the argument that you're about to see. Now, this is an opinion piece that was published in the Washington Examiner. That is a right-wing outlet, so let's be clear about that. But nonetheless, here's the headline. Elizabeth Warren's plan to cancel student loan debt would be a slap in the face to all those who struggle to pay off their loans. So it's written by a man named Philip Klein. And apparently he got a lot of angry responses to this op-ed, but let me read you the case that he's making. In the escalating battle of 2020 Democratic presidential candidates to see who can offer the most free stuff, Senator Elizabeth Warren has taken the extraordinary step of calling for having the government forgive student loan debt. This pander will not only be incredibly costly, but it will be a slap in the face to those who have already struggled to pay off their student loans without government assistance. So he's arguing, look, I mean, all these people who did the right thing and managed to pay off their student loans are gonna be upset, and they should be upset. But here's the thing, like forgiving student loan debt and making tuition free at public colleges and universities doesn't simply benefit the individual who's going to school or wants to get an education. It benefits everyone. So let me give you specific examples. And he acknowledges some of this, by the way. If the millennial generation is burdened with so much debt that they can't, let's say, qualify for mortgages, then they're not able to buy homes. You know who that affects? Construction workers, right? The entire real estate industry suffers as a result of that. So there's that. If you are unable to get a loan for a car or buy a car, that negatively impacts the auto industry. So it has a wide and broad negative impact on the economy overall. It's not just about the person who's dealing with that burden. And also, okay, so if you find cures for illnesses, do you refuse to give that cure to people who are suffering from those illnesses because people in the past died from those illnesses?
Yeah, hey, that's one to grow on right there. Under this logic, we shouldn't ever fix anything. Well, hey, look, the people who suffered before, they had to suffer. So what are you going around fixing it for? One of our viewers wrote in yesterday saying, hey, look, for the people who were unjustly imprisoned but served their whole sentence, I guess they should turn around and say, don't let any of the unjustly imprisoned people go because I had to serve my whole sentence.
Yeah.
Right? No, that's not how it should work. You should say, oh, thank God they're at least freeing them, right? Because we were all put into prison when we shouldn't be, for example.
And more importantly, look, I don't deny that people had to deal with the burdens of student loan debt a decade ago. But the point that I want to make is that the costs of going to college have really skyrocketed over the last decade. So someone looking to get a college education today, or someone looking to get a college education 5 years ago, is dealing with a completely different animal compared to someone who went to college 20 years ago, 25 years ago, right? And so the problem keeps getting worse, and it's having more and more of an impact on our broader economy. And this is why it's important to do something about it now. It's also serving as a deterrent for millennials who might want to start a family but think, hey, you know what? I don't think I can. I don't think I can afford a kid because I'm dealing with these loans that I can't get rid of even if I file for bankruptcy. And B, what if I do have a kid and I want to put him or her in school? I can't afford it.
Yeah, look, I partly get it because I hated doing homework when I was a kid. And if I ever did my homework and then the teacher said, oh, by the way, I changed my mind, you don't have to hand that in, I would have been like, no. Now, luckily, I never made that mistake. I'd always turn it in late or sometimes not at all. Anyway, but we shouldn't let that bitterness affect policy. So because under the same logic, you could say, I can't believe the greatest generation didn't have to pay for college like I had to pay for college. Those goddamn World War II veterans, right. I can't believe they got the GI Bill and then they built this country because they had economic opportunity and then they gave me economic opportunity. Right, no, we had it right back then. You give people economic opportunity and the economy grows and people get a chance to live the American dream. Now, if you paid all those debts, like a lot of us did, yeah, in a sense you got screwed. And you know who you got screwed by? The donor class. They paid the politicians to change the laws. And so the laws they changed meant that the rich paid less taxes, corporations paid less taxes, and so they had to get the money from somewhere, so they stopped funding college like they used to at the federal and state level. So then they had to increase tuition.
Yes.
So you did get screwed, but you didn't get screwed by the people who are now would be the beneficiary of the correct policy. You got screwed by the people who shifted those costs onto you when you should have never had to pay those costs.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you had to, if later we shifted, they kept on going, which they're trying to do now, and shifted the cost of high school and junior high and elementary school onto the students. And so what, we could never fix that? Oh, no, the rich wanted lower and lower and lower taxes. So now the elementary school kids have to start taking out loans. And so since they started taking out loans and then some of them paid it, never fix the system.
Yeah.
Never fix it.
So
that makes no sense.
So this part of his op-ed, tried to kind of illustrate this and how unfair it is that some people had to suffer and do the right thing and others don't have to at the same extent, right? Because, by the way, let me be clear about one other thing. I like Elizabeth Warren's policy, and I think that it's the most progressive from what we've seen of any other candidate, but it doesn't cancel all student loan debt. $50,000 is a lot, but it doesn't cover all of the loans that a lot of students have to take out, especially graduate students. So some people are still gonna have loans that they're gonna have to pay off. So it doesn't wipe out student loan debt for everyone completely. It does for a pretty sizable portion of borrowers, but just keep that in mind for context. He continues to write, there are those who have cut expenses to the bare bones to pay off loans while watching their friends with similar salaries eat out and travel and deprioritize paying off loans. Those who are more responsible will feel justifiably enraged at the idea that those who may have been more profligate will now get a bailout from the government. Okay, so the reason why I want to read that to you is because it shows you where his head is at and how conservatives think of people who have trouble paying off their loans. They think if you're having trouble paying off your loan, it's because you're messing around, right? You're going out, you're eating avocado toast, and you're living this lavish life. And if you just applied yourself and you prioritize paying off these loans, you can do it. See, he's living in a different, disconnected world. That is not the reality of people who are dealing with this giant burden.
Most of the people who are having trouble paying off their student loans are not having that trouble because they took too many vacations to Europe. But they come at it from a rich mindset.
Yeah.
So they assume you have the same problems that they have.
Exactly.
Right? What they perceive to be problems. Look, lastly, they get upset and they call it a giveaway when it affects 42 million Americans. But when the bankers get a bailout, and that affects just a couple of thousand people, and it's if you include what the Federal Reserve did, trillions of dollars, totally fine. We bailed them out. They collapsed their own businesses and the rest of our economy, cost us 8 million jobs. No, that's fine, that's fine. And then how about the rich? So the top 1% got 83% of the benefits of Trump's tax cuts, right? And they got $61,000 on average. So you didn't complain when Trump did a $2 trillion giveaway to the top 1%. But you do complain when Elizabeth Warren says, let's help 42 million Americans. And so all of a sudden that's a giveaway. No, the Republicans are the masters of giveaways. They just give it away to their own donors.
Yeah, and let's keep it real. Warren's plan would positively impact everyone because it would have a positive impact on the economy, period.
Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.